Salida, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jim and welcome to the Sounds German review of the debut album of Julia Engelmann, which is called Poesiealbum. I was pretty surprised to see this name on the release list actually. Julia Engelmann gained a bit of local internet fame a few years ago when a poetry slam performance of her made the rounds on YouTube. She performed a poem about not letting your life and chances in life go to waste, and it got millions of clicks. Now, I don't really know anything about poetry slams, so I can't really speak to the actual quality of her performance there, but just like many others, it certainly somehow resonated with me. It came off as very natural, very down to earth, and relatable in my opinion, with some very clever phrasing here and there. But that was basically a one-hit wonder thing, her videos never surfaced with this amount of popularity ever since. And now, almost 4 years later, she releases her debut album. So, just knowing her from this poetry slam performance, I had at least some expectations regarding the lyrical content, even though I'd have absolutely no idea which direction of music to expect. And what we get here is one pretty shallow piece of pop that the world really didn't need, I'm sad to say. And this goes basically for all of the album from start to finish. The opener, Grüner wird's nicht, is packed in these kinda plasticky sounding drums, which pop in during the intro and the hook, and otherwise is a rather minimalistic track when it comes to its instrumentation, with some synthes and a few piano notes here and there. I really don't know what's up with the drums here though. They are basically the most drum computer sounding drums I have ever heard on an album. And I guess you could see this track lyric-wise trying to tie into the aforementioned poetry slam performance, as it's basically about the same topic, taking chances, don't let them pass by, and so on. But it's written almost amateurish in comparison with the lyrics lacking any of the finesse. It's the same bass message, but it's dressed here in an unimpressive musical gown and severely downgraded in its writing. And this is something you will find throughout the whole album in almost every track, with sometimes even puzzling text choices. Stille Poeten, for example, has the message that many people have some sort of silent poet inside them, no matter how they seem to look on the outside. The song itself is fine, mostly carried by piano and again very plasticky sounding drums, which, as I said before, I just assume they come from a computer with a bit more force in the hook. It's composition-wise, it's nice, it's okay, but nothing stand out. But between the examples of these silent poets, like an underachieving kid that isn't liked in school, or some teenage ruffian, she throws in a drinking mother. She just gets thrown in there, honored with 2 sentences, and gets put on the same level as the rest of examples listed, and just what? A drinking mother? You couldn't come up with anything else here? Because, to be honest, I find alcoholic parents a pretty heavy and disturbing thing to just throw out there like that, especially considering this song is talking about this creative, fascinating core inside of people. I think I get what she tried to do here, but it comes off as absolutely thoughtless at best. In the track Kein Modelmädchen, she tries to present herself as the sort of nerdy outsider that doesn't really fit in because, well, she reads books in bed, or she wears black a lot. Like, these things that will probably make you scratch your head as a reason here, because they're just totally normal things. Only then to go on in the hook about how she wishes to be prettier, but she isn't a model girl, but instead completely imperfect. But when you look at her, it's pretty clear that by our societal standards of the moment, she is a very pretty girl. She could probably work as a model. And singing about how you don't have an Instagram because snapshots of you are not fit for it is all well and fine, but maybe you shouldn't have an Instagram with snapshots of yourself on it then. And I don't better even get started at the end of the track where there's a part where Engelmann decides that a man and she will never be a couple just because he looked at what she calls a model girl, and she then just decides on the spot that this guy, basically only for looking at some ass, only likes model girls, and because she isn't one, they can never be a couple. It's basically saying someone isn't a vegan. He possibly can't a vegan because he looked at a steak. It's just, it's just stupid, really. Composition-wise, the song is mostly carried by ukulele, an instrument I honestly didn't expect whatsoever, but the whimsical composition and the melody is enjoyable enough, but again, nothing special really either. Almost naturally, with this kind of music and writing, love is an unavoidable topic, and to be frank, it's just as shallowly presented as the rest. It seems to be all about unhappy love of some sort, be it someone literally leaving her, or the example from Model Mädchen above, or in Bestandsaufnahme, where she lists things that she has but doesn't want, things she has and things she doesn't have, and mentions there that she doesn't have someone in her life, addressing him, knowing that she likes him more than the other way around. But at the same time, nothing here is ever properly explored, so no real emotions can build up unless the pure mention of love or unhappy love already tugs on your heartstrings. The only ray of light on this album for me was the closing track Grapefruit, which seems to interject a poetry slam text of Engelmann into the song, and it transitions pretty well from one to another right from the start. I feel the difference between what I guess you could call her other writing and this album becomes clear as night and day here. The text has the seriousness and lyrical finesse I expected, and with depression, it handles a pretty serious topic quite well, ending with the message that it's okay to get help if you need it. I don't know why she goes on about grapefruit for breakfast in the hook, but the rest of this track fits together incredibly well, and the held back acoustic guitar as the only instrument here just fits perfectly. This song has also what I would consider the most honest, if not the only honest moment on the whole album when Engelmann talks about her own mental fights with the past and how she overcame them. And this song makes me probably more angry than anything else on this album, because she shows she can write songs with some substance. She can present a serious message with some lightheartedness and without going all doom and gloom. She just didn't for the rest of the album. But even this song isn't completely immune from phrase mongering when she goes on in the hook about how things will become true if you just say them often enough. And this is the kind of platitudes that get handed out to the listener here all the time. Everything becomes more beautiful when the sun shines on it. Every grape will turn into a good wine. The moon returns every time after a low tide. It's the kind of stuff you would expect from young kids or middle-aged housewives to be shared over Facebook along with a picture of a minion from Despicable Me, paired with a bunch of incredibly simple compositions, and you get almost 55 minutes of shallow pop. That is not to say that the compositions are necessarily bad, albeit, as I said, very simple. But imagining this as an instrumental album, this would be an album I could see myself put on for some background noise. The strange way the drums sound aside, you get an enjoyable, light-hearted mixture of piano, guitars, synthes, and even some unexpected features like the ukulele I mentioned before, or some horns thrown in here and there. I'm very certain this album will attract its audience. I think time has proven that this kind of music has more than enough people who like it. And you know what? That's okay. I won't judge you if you like this really shallow pop music, even though I get the feeling this album will call a lot of, oh, you just didn't get it. You didn't get how deep this is. People to the scene if someone doesn't talk positively about it. I just feel Engelmann could have delivered something with real substance here, but instead gave us just a ton of feel-good phrases which are removed from any reality at worst. This album feels entirely like a squandered chance. I guess these lyrics were, at least partially, written so they come off as really relatable and stuff, but in the end they just feel cliche, kitschy, and at the best of times naively optimistic. So, as a conclusion, man, what a disappointment. This is almost an hour of phrase mongering and empty, meaningless platitudes dished out to the listener from someone who has proven of being able to deliver far, far better. And while they can be whimsical and enjoyable, the compositions are unimpressive too. If you are really itching for some German pop music, grab the latest records from, for example, Yakoto or Balbina. Both of them delivered a far more interesting and substantial album just this year, and you can find my review of both of them on the channel. Engelmann clearly has some lyrical talent, very clearly, especially the final track shows this. So here's hoping she shows it with her next album, because this album is basically just a disc full of wasted potential and skill. So, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please leave a like or just subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. I will post at least one review per week, more content whenever I can manage to do it. You can also follow me on Facebook and or Twitter. Links are in the description, and also in the description you will find shopping links for this album and any relevant music videos or album streams if there are any. And if you have listened to this album, please let me know what you thought about it in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. I hope to see you again next time. Have a nice day. Salida!